Just kind of adds to the humor, really. It's not like professional at this or anything, you know. We just we wing it every time, don't we?
Mm-hmm. What are we talking about tonight?
I mean, we were talking about quite a few things. Obviously, I mean, Dad and Lad coming back. Actually, that's gonna be quite nice. Obviously, we got a whole new setup going on. It's quite obvious we're in the same room for once, which is quite incredible, really. But we're currently living in York. It's a fantastic place. I mean, you know, we can brag about it as much as we want, but that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about films and television, you know, as we should. I think we got to start with our typical kind of intros. What have we watched this week? But obviously, we can kind of expand that because, you know, it's been a lot more than a week. So we could just probably talk about any notable things that we've seen recently or over the past, year since we last done this?
Well, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, you don't have to mention like everything.
No,
just certain things. Because I mean, I typically try to keep a little list of stuff, but I got to admit, a lot of this is stuff that I really don't remember much anymore. So it's just like really, really funny. So I'm not going to go through all that. We'll go through some of the stuff that I do remember I've seen recently. So obviously, you and I have seen the new Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That was quite good to watch. Quite a lot of fun. I definitely feel a bit let down by Kang the Conqueror, though, because you know they bigged him up. Because I know you haven't seen the Loki series and stuff, but in the Loki series, you meet one of the other variants of Kang, and he basically talks about like, oh, you know, everything's going to change now. You know, you've opened up the multiverse kind of stuff. Basically, is what's happened. And Owen Wilson, isn't it? Hilarious. I think you really like his part, and he's very Owen Wilson. It's just so weird to see in the MCU. But yeah, basically, they really kind of big up the fact that, oh, well, one of the Kangs is a conqueror, and he's like, you know, oh, he just takes over everything, he kills everything. Kind of like how they bigged up Gore the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder, and then you know they don't really do much, and it's like it's supposed to be this big terrifying threat, and they don't really do anything. Kind of get their ass whooped. I'm like, oh, it's kind of a disappointment. You know, I was like, yeah.
Well, it's a bit like the other character with the what was it? What's his name now? But not Morbius. It was more the one, the big head in the suit.
MODOK.
MODOK,
just such a goofy addition, and I mean, he's completely out of nowhere, and also, now he's he was an evil guy at first, and now he turns up kind of good in the end. You're like, no.
Again, they bigged him up like he was like the ultimate weapon.
Yeah, because that's in all the comics and stuff. He's supposed to be, you know, like he even his name is just like what mechanical organism designed only for killing. Like, that's cool, that's fun. But he looks ridiculous, but he always looks ridiculous.
And he's not particularly effective.
No, exactly. I mean,
and he's not even really designed to be effective. If you think about it, he's got these little legs and a massive head in this strange suit,
just kind of flying around and equipped with all these weapons that he doesn't really use. And you're like, it's just not really killing anything, not really doing anything. Yeah, and just has like a goofy, scary mask that he sometimes wears, and it's there were a lot of good things about the film, and there were also a lot of just silly, just off-putting ideas. It was like, maybe you're trying to set up something bigger with all the other Kangs. Yeah, that's a cool idea, but I don't know. It would have felt because now I feel like, well, if all the Kangs are essentially similar power level, because they're all the same person in a sense. I mean, one of them lost to to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and just didn't even really kill anything. He essentially lost to ants. You know what I mean? I don't really feel like he's going to be much of a threat in the universe.
It's not all conquering.
I'm just saying, Thanos, like that was a proper awesome build up with proper dire consequences, people dying and stuff. Like, wow, this feels like an actual proper threat. That was awesome, but no. So far, Kang, not impressed.
No. Well, I think he loses the title of Conqueror, don't you? Because it's not really all conquering at all.
No. I mean, I get the whole point. It's like, oh, they trapped him there because he was conquering too much and he became a problem. But he didn't really seem very effective. No. He just really didn't. Even his little robot army thing,
easy to wipe out.
Yeah, just not even really a threat. The whole point was just kind of moot.
Yeah.
But I guess it's just setting up a huge thing. Anyway, that's still not what we're here to talk about. But that was good to bring up, though.
Yeah.
What else did I see that I really liked? I've been watching Handmaid's Tale, which is really, really cool. Kind of like it's like an alternate American dystopian society, if you will. Basically, like these religious fanatics essentially gain control over a lot of the country, and they've got a big problem where a lot of the women can no longer kind of give birth. They don't really like bear children, and there's a select few of them that do, and they're kind of put on a pedestal, but in a really shit way, and they're called handsmaids, and they kind of basically turn them into these breeding women that get forced out to like rich people houses and stuff. Basically, it's really messed up and really dark and twisted and really interesting to watch. I've got to admit, I've been really enjoying that so far. Really strange take on just religious fanaticism. Really, it's quite good to see. Really.
Okay, well, I know I've seen bits. I've not seen it, but I've seen various reviews or clips from it or trailers, and it does look quite interesting.
I mean, the more I watch it, the more I'm really getting into it. The story is just really out there. It's so well thought out, I gotta admit.
Yeah, and quite original, it seems like it's.
Yeah. And it's not really something I've seen before, so no, I'm very excited to kind of keep watching. I think it's like 4 seasons, so it's quite long so far. So I'm pretty excited to get back into it.
Yeah.
And then the most recent thing I've seen is the. Do you remember the Malaysian airliner that disappeared back in 2014 and couldn't find it at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got a documentary about that on Netflix
is it
right
like
now.
370 or 570 flight?
MH370,
MH370.
And I got to admit, it's quite an interesting documentary because it goes through, obviously, everything that happened. You got, like, a guy who works for the airline and stuff. You got people from Malaysia that are involved. And then you've got, like, people from all kinds of different countries that obviously got involved. You know, you had Australia involved. You had China involved. Russia was brought up at one point. You had the Americans. All kinds of different people had hands in this pie. And it was just such a strange...
It was a fascinating news story. I mean, I was absolutely gripped by the news story because it was an absolute total mystery.
Yeah.
Into this flight.
It still is, really. They still don't actually know what's happened to it.
They've got various theories, but they don't
That's
really
exactly
know.
Right. And they go through a lot of the different theories, including a lot of people who had those theories. And it's certainly a wild ride. It's quite a good documentary. Absolutely worth a watch. Yeah. It's so cool because they've got like some of the actual sound clips that they did recover based on what they could get from the not the black box because they couldn't find anything from the plane really.
Yeah.
But no, they've got some of the old sound footage that they do have based on previous recordings and stuff, which is quite interesting.
Like communication with control tower and things like that.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. So they use that quite a lot, but it's to be fair because they're always trying to paint the story of what could have happened.
Yeah.
Which so cool and interesting.
Yeah. Fascinating mystery, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. Great mystery.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what I've been watching. I've really not watched as many films in the last year, especially. Yeah. Best part last year. But I've watched films, but not by any stretch what I used to, what I'm normally into watching because I've been working. But yeah, obviously I did enjoy Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a good... I like the fact that this particular character... and again, it's landed obviously from the comic. It's very much based on the comic, but I like the fact that this character's kind of in a different... It just takes it in a different direction from... I know it's part of the whole multiverse thing and all the rest of it, and there's a grand arching story, or arcing story around that. But I just think that the whole idea of you're in microverse... You're going somewhere completely different. It's a completely different world. So things like Doctor Strange, where it just basically opens up so many different parallel universes. So you just endlessly the ideas and thoughts you can have. But I think this is a very specific kind of microscopic world, and just the whole notion of it is interesting in the fact that Marvel went there because they're always searching for new ideas and stuff like that. And then now the film version, I think, is all the Ant-Man films have been good, and I think that's partly down to probably the writing and definitely the acting. I mean,
100%. Paul Rudd. I mean, he makes such a good impact on it. He really just really is the character. Yeah.
He's a great actor. Just generally just a funny guy, and so he definitely he's got some of that quality of Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool. But he's got some of that same kind of punchy delivery and all the rest of it.
Almost feels like he's got quite a good creative freedom over it, but obviously, they can't be like, you can't go off the rails like Ryan Reynolds can, because Deadpool is obviously, really off the walls kind of stuff. It's like, if you want to be a bit goofy and kind of charismatic, you can do that. That's fine. But don't go hardcore and swearing territory or anything. I think he really does. He's very flexible with it, and he's just crazy fun and goofy with it. But it's not too much, It's just the right amount. I think.
Yeah, and I think Paul Rudd does that well. And you got a couple of veteran actors there that are always good to see in what's his name now?
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, and Michelle Pfeiffer. And again, At the start of the film, I was thinking, oh, that's what's her name? I should know, because I was a massive fan, especially in the earlier days when when she played Catwoman in the Batman Returns movie.
That's right.
But she's still got the
Still got the acting chops.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's great. When you got a proper cast that are just kind of really able to kind of figure out who they are, what's going on, and they kind of just really go for it. Yeah, they do a great job. Absolutely fun.
And even down at the cameo by Bill. Brain's completely gone.
Oh God, Bill Murray. Bill Murray. I didn't see that coming. That was
Bill Murray.
Quite funny.
Yeah, that was.
But it's just Bill Murray being Bill Murray. You know, that's the best part. Some people are always going to be who they are in a thing, and you're like, I love it though. I mean, Nicolas Cage is a great example. Jack Black, another great example. Although he kind of molds into whatever the other character is, but it's got a heavy influence of who he is as well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just Bill Murray being Bill Murray, just in anything, just always great, always great. Just. You can't take him seriously. He doesn't take himself seriously. He doesn't take any of it seriously. But he acts so serious and he sounds so deadpan with his deliveries. And you're just like, what the fuck is he saying? You know, you're just like, what? And it just blows me away. It's so good. I love Bill Murray.
Yeah, he's an excellent actor and extremely funny. As I say, he's just a natural. It's just his natural style carries it off. You know, you don't have to be. The script might not be perfect, but he's gonna deliver it in a certain
even
way.
In that minor role. I mean, he was in it for maybe like 20 minutes, really.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well, I'm glad he was in it. You know, I'm glad he got to really elevate that one little character that kind of meant something maybe at one point. In her old story and everything, but otherwise we didn't really know who he was. He didn't really, not really big deal, but just a great touch. A great touch.
It was. So I think I don't know what else have you watched. I can't think of top man. I'm trying to think of what I've been watching. Actually, I did watch the Knives Out sequel.
Oh, Glass Onion.
Glass Onion, yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was quite clever.
Yeah.
And especially the fact that it tries to paint itself as such an elaborate murder mystery kind of thing with all these rich people and all these eccentric lives and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he's just when he's really solving everything, he goes, no, this is all bullshit. This is not smart. This is not clever. This whole thing is just really fucking dumb.
Yeah.
And he's like, this shouldn't have happened. He's not some deep thoughted person. It's like this whole thing was just stupid.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's already solved. It's all done. I'm just going home.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I was like, I didn't see that coming, and I'm really, really glad that that's what he did, because the whole time it looked like, maybe there is something elaborate going on. It's this really, murder mystery style, noir feeling kind of stuff here and there, and it was really, really interesting, really kind of Clue vibes. But then, when he really breaks it down, he's like, no. Because in the first, Knives Out, everything was elaborate. It was a lot more awesome mystery that really, had to make him think and, be a proper, incredibly smart detective as his reputation is.
Yeah.
And then in this one, he's just like... He's like, it's just rich people with rich, stupid problems.
Yeah.
That's what this whole thing is.
Yeah, and I can see through it straight away. Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm just wasting my time here. They brought me here to be, we got Benoit Blanc. He's so smart. It's like, and I wasted my fucking time. I don't know why I came. I hate this kind of thing. It's just, that was definitely my favourite bit.
But then, of course, we don't want to spoil anything.
I think we've got
the source for him going there in the first place. It turns out to be a bit different, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But it was a good twist. Well, there's a few good twists in there. In that film.
Yeah, definitely quite an interesting. I mean, on his side of the story, very, very interesting, very well thought out, very elaborate. But then, as I said, all the proper reveals of what really happened, what was going on.
Yeah.
Just hilarious how he just downplayed the whole thing, and he's like, no.
And just picked it apart.
Yeah, hilarious. Just great. Really funny.
Yeah, and again, some good acting there.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel
Craig
Craig,
cast.
just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't think he'd be quite entertaining to watch because in some things you watch, he's like, okay, well, you can be alright to watch. I've seen him in obviously we've seen him in Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's very one-note character, but he plays it super well. He's also been in Army of Thieves and stuff, where he's kind of more of a smart, hardcore fighting veteran and everything, and they've got all the zombies and weird shit going on. And that's quite cool. More heisty kind of based stuff, and it makes it look like he's a real smart thinking character. And I'm like, okay, well, that's quite an interesting twist for quite a big guy. But I feel like Dwayne The Rock Johnson's also going down that kind of road where it's like, just because he's big and strong, that's not all he is, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he's not. he's not got a brain.
Yeah. So I'm glad they kind of got a bit more with that.
Well, I thought also it was nice to see Ed Norton. I've not seen him for a while.
That's true.
And that was quite, again, there was this kind of role as well. He played the kind of the quirky kind of, almost tyrant. The kind of the centre of the quirky narcissist at the centre of the piece.
It's very, very full of himself, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that. And I seem to know. I've seen in places that the whole Glass Onion, this film, I don't even know top of my head who the writer is but the director, but that he's very influenced by the works of Hitchcock, for example, is fascinated by
probably Agatha Christie and stuff like that.
He loves all those classic mysteries. He tries to kind of base things on that.
Yeah, you definitely get that vibe from it, which is probably one of the best parts about it. The fact that it does have, the heavy inspiration by that. Obviously, you got a lot of people in one place. A murder takes place, which is it's a classic recipe for anything good compared to like somebody's been murdered down a back alley. Nobody really saw what happened. You got kind of more like a television show kind of style thing. I definitely think it's much better when it's a proper murder mystery setup. Yeah, that's always been good.
Yeah. What else watched recently? Well, apart from the one that I think we're not the elephant in the room, but the one we're trying to skip now because we want to eventually.
We'll definitely. I mean, we have to go to it. We absolutely have to go to it. And if we need to go to it now, we can do it.
Yeah.
Let me just pull up a little bit.
It's just the one that's the one that's really fresh in my memory because it's one that I saw most recently and it's that I thoroughly enjoyed, and that was
the main reason why we're here today. Is the Banshees of Inisherin.
That's the one.
Which we both recently seen. Now, I've got to admit, I've had recommendations by you. I've had recommendations by Neve, and I was like, well, 2 recommendations. That's pretty good, because I feel like I totally respect your decision on films, and I'm like, okay, well, Neve's got quite a good taste in films as well. So I was like, okay, well, if these two both say it's good, I've definitely got to watch it.
Yeah,
and I'm absolutely glad I did. I'm absolutely glad I did. So I'll just kind of give the quick rundown on it. I'll talk. Quick synopsis. On a remote island off the coast of Ireland, Patrick is devastated when his buddy Colm suddenly puts an end to their lifelong friendship. With help from his sister and a troubled young islander, Patrick sets out to repair the damaged relationship by any means necessary. However, as Colm's resolve only strengthens, he soon delivers an ultimatum that leads to shocking consequences. It was directed by Martin McDonagh, and naturally we've got 2 fantastic heads in the film, which are the whole main point of the film, really, the whole driving force, because there's no proper crazy action. It's a proper simple drama / comedy at moments.
Yeah.
You've got Colin Farrell.
Brendan Gleeson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people draw parallels to In Bruges, because they were both the heads of that one. Also directed by Martin McDonagh.
Yeah.
But completely not related films.
Yeah, exactly. There's no connection in terms of the films, the stories, anything like that.
No. I mean, of course there's a level of similarity, but, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the fact that, it's such a smart film. It is. I really enjoyed it from start to finish. They've got a lot of really creative dialogue, a lot of fun going on. And I thought, there might be some kind of long-winded, boring moments. And I gotta admit, I was never really bored. I was always kind of into it. There was a lot of fun and quirky play going on. Obviously, you got real Irishy, speaking, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't know if this is going to be completely accurate, but it's just fun to play along with stereotypes and stuff. Great. Yeah. He's gone around to his best mate's house. We're going to go to the pub, get some stouts 2:00 in the afternoon because there's nothing else to do in island life. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting the vibe of this. And, he's knocking on his door. He sees Colm in there, just smoking. Colm's not responding. Keeps knocking. Colm, I'll get our pints in. I'll see you in a little bit. And he goes off without him. And, he's like, well, that's really weird. He's like, did we have a row? And everyone's like, you guys must have just had a fight. That's just it happens. Obviously, you guys had a row. No big deal. You'll do your apologies as you always do, and things will just carry on like normal. And Colm eventually shows up, wants nothing to do with him. Doesn't even want to talk to him, just blanks him. And you're like, okay, that's quite interesting. So it's like, I know obviously the friendship's ending, because they obviously mention it everywhere. But I'm like, okay, well, clearly there's got to be a bit more to it. And, I mean, I suppose there is. It doesn't outright say what it is. It kind of hints a lot at what it could have been or what it is.
Yeah.
And obviously, it feels like it's not a very serious thing. But the film, the entire plot is that it's those two having an issue with each other, and it's mostly one-sided.
Yeah, it's specifically the Colm character just deciding out of the blue that he don't want to be friends with Podrick anymore.
That's right.
And the reason he gives is I just don't like you.
Yeah, you're dull.
Yeah, and that's it.
And
after years of being friends, that's it.
Yeah, we have no interesting, thought-out conversations. I want to do more with my life, more artsy stuff, because he's the intellectual of the island, if you will. And he's into music, he's into, I suppose, science and things like that. He's got all kinds of eccentric things around his house. He's like, I want to pursue these intellectual things that can live on beyond me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, well, I kind of get where you're coming from, but why cut him off?
Yeah.
And why just end the friendship specifically with him?
Yeah.
Just the one guy. Nobody else. He's friends with everybody else.
Yeah.
But Podrick, the guy he always hangs out with, he's like, no longer. You and I, no longer. And it's like, that's just so drastic. And I'm like, you kind of get hooked, and you're like, there's got to be something else. You're like, there's got to be something else. So you kind of see them go through the day-to-day lives. Podrick's trying to do everything he can to talk to him.
Yeah.
To become friends, or even just to be like, oh, okay, well, why? Tell me why. What's up? What do I need to do? What can we do to still be friends? And Colm's having none of it. Absolutely none of it.
I think what happens with the development of the characters is that makes it interesting. That kind of brings you on, because you think at the start of that film, you're thinking, and even knowing what the film was going to be about in the trailer, they don't hide the fact. It's no secret that's a film.
Yeah, exactly. It's the plot. Because every trailer always shows like, oh, ultimately what the plot is, and the plot for this film, it is just that. It's just their friendship is over. That's it. The plot.
And then you think
it's the entire thing,
and it happens right at the start of the film. So you're thinking, well, how are they going to?
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're going to drag this on. Or is this going to become a film? Because this is like a 20-30 minute thing right here. You're like, what?
So I think that the way they've developed the Podrick character in particular is that the film really focuses around his life and what he's doing and how he's reacting to the situation.
Yeah, which clearly he's some kind of like dairy farmer, I believe. He's got a couple of other animals as well. He's got his emotional support, miniature donkey, Jenny and stuff. But he seems like, he might be a simple man, but he's not like stupid.
But he's a nice and pleasant man. Yeah. And that's something that, it kind of resonates, and you see that, it's not really fair. But this is not fair treatment. You can very quickly empathise with where he's at, because you're
on his side the entire time.
Yeah, because Colin Farrell plays it really well. He plays the empathy card really well. He develops empathy in you very quickly.
Absolutely.
By just being this simple man.
Even the rest of the village is all like, well, it's really fucking weird, Podrick, But at the same time, they don't want to fight Colm. They're not being like, oh, you're fucked up, you're wrong.
Yeah.
They're trying to kind of keep the peace. But if anything, they're like, well, this is shit for you, Podrick. That's everybody is kind of on his side, but they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah. So I think the way what makes it interesting is the fact that the focus is on that character, and then of course there's lots of other little quirky characters all around it. So it's a character piece, isn't it? So
it is a character piece,
and it's an Irish island. In the 1920s. It's quite just funny. It's just a funny concept.
Absolutely.
And so that you're going to find
such an out there thing, just a little island off the coast of Ireland.
You're going to find,
like I said, it's in the 1920s, and they've got occasional gunfire going on in the background and stuff because the Irish Civil War is going on in the mainland, and they don't really know what's happening out there. They just know there's some kind of shit going on, and like, oh my god, what's going on? They don't really hear any of the news that comes to them. They just every once in a while, maybe somebody by boat will have a bit of information or maybe a job offer or something, and that's kind of it. But nobody says, oh yeah, this has happened. You never really learn anything that's going on the mainland except obviously, like you said,
gunfire.
Yeah, exactly.
And they talk about the Civil War, and that's it.
Yeah. But they don't go to details. Podrick's sister gets a job offer on the mainland, and I think their police officer guy, he's got a job offer to go like do executions and stuff on the mainland.
Yeah, that's
it's like oh shit. So there's a lot of drastic stuff going on the mainland, but we're not really going to talk about that. We want that to be hinted that yes, this is what's going on there, and it's going to parallel what actually happened in 1920s Ireland. But you have to figure that shit out for yourself if you don't know, which is really interesting, because I know for me after the film I was like, well, I do want to kind of know what was going on there, because there must be some metaphor ties to the film, and sure enough, like we were even talking in the car the other day, there is a lot of that. It's definitely very, I don't know how to word it. It's definitely tied. It's definitely got,
Yeah, I think this, as you said, I think this is just my observation as well. It's not I don't know if it was intended in the film, but is I think that the relationship between, especially towards the end, the relationship between Colm and Podrick somewhat reflects the Irish troubles, which is what the Civil War springs out of the Irish troubles. It's the thing that's always been going on. It's between Protestants and Catholics, or between the powers and the power that be and the rebels. There is parallels. It's almost like a metaphor. Their relationship's almost like a metaphor for that. Which I never thought about that. All through the film, I never thought about that being the case. But it was after the film, and I look back and thinking, I wonder if that is intended. I wonder if that's the case, because
it's definitely what it feels like, isn't it? Definitely. I don't know the specifics when it comes to the actual, because like we were saying, I mean, clearly it's hinted. Clearly the idea is there. I don't know how much of it is, meant to be defined by the film and the connection and everything with the parallels. But I do feel like, there's a lot of inspiration for that connection, and they want it to be obvious, but they don't want it to be like that's the whole point of the film. They don't want to be like it is a fun, quirky story. But it also does mimic a bit of what actually happened.
Exactly.
Because I think you were telling me, obviously, with the Protestants, the Catholics, and everything, and eventually there was the
independence, Irish independence, just after the First World War. So Ireland got independence. But only for the southern part of Ireland. So Northern Ireland had to be a deal that was struck with England, or with the Empire, with the British Empire, with Britain, that said that you can be independent, you can have an independent country, but you can't keep the Northern Ireland, which was quite an economically strong hold. It was also a Protestant majority as well. Lots of reasons why they were keeping it, and that inflamed the situation between. But the people that have been fighting, the freedom fighters, the people that have been trying to get independence, they themselves then split, because some of them, we talked about Michael Collins, and there's another film that's worth looking at if you're interested in this whole story of the Troubles, and particularly this period of the Troubles. Michael Collins was on the side of, he said, no way we're going to accept any kind of bribe like that. We're having all of Ireland or nothing. It's all or nothing. Whereas the guy, I forgot his name, that guy who ended up being the Taoiseach, then being the Prime Minister of the independent Ireland. He was the one that gave the concession. They felt the guys in his own party, in his own group, felt that he betrayed them. So there was kind of a split happened between those that supported it and supported him, the Taoiseach, and those that supported Collins, and that perspective, and that's where the Civil War came from. He's two factions of essentially the same original rebels, and it's a typical kind of a typical strategy of the British Empire, really, pitching two arms of your enemy against each other.
Exactly. And even if they're ultimately really on the same side, which I think that is the parallel when it comes to the Colm character and the Patrick character. Obviously, they've been mates all their lives. But then one drastic thing happened. And that's it. They're now, not really mortal enemies. One side is like, what the fuck? And the other side is like, no.
But at the end, they're mortal enemies. And they have become pitted against each other.
Absolutely.
And it seems like in a tragic way, an accidental way. And that's almost, I think that's where the parallels are. And even Colin, I think probably what triggered the thought in me was towards the end, one of the things, Colin's peril. They both look into the mainland. They're both hearing some of the is that still going on? And he's going, he says, well, maybe it's right. Going forward, maybe it's sometimes maybe that needs.
It's all like demeanor has changed. Now he's more like properly into the division and the fight and everything, and he's like
exactly
which was so good to see that proper change in him. I think we're gonna have to go through the film. We're gonna have to talk about.
We will.
So obviously we'll put a spoiler warning ahead of this podcast episode. We have to go through the shit that happens, the other metaphor with the whole Banshee and the song and everything. There's so many good things. So it's obviously Colm and Podrick having a lot of their issues and stuff, and they're not really having proper fights, but they're having Colm is mostly having spats against Podrick, and Podrick is still just like, I just don't get it, and he is adamant on making sure they can continue being friends, even though everybody's like, just fucking leave him alone. He wants to be left alone. Just fucking leave him alone. Don't worry about it. And eventually, Podrick pisses him off so much, and Colm says this amazing. I think it was in the pub he says it. So everybody around him heard, where he's like really really up against him kind of stuff, and he's like, if you keep talking to me, I will cut off one of my fingers. And he's like, because he plays the fiddle, and he goes, it'll be one of my fiddle playing fingers, and I really fucking need those because I love playing the fiddle, and I really want to write music and stuff. And he goes, and for every day you continue talking to me, I will continue cutting off a finger each and every day. until you leave me alone. And that was basically it. That was like that whole argument. And he, goes off, and everybody in the pub's like, "Oh shit!" No, like, you really better leave him alone. Like nobody does anything else bad. They're just like, well, you better not have him do that. That sounds crazy. That's drastic. So you best leave him alone. Everybody, his sister, everybody's telling him, leave him alone, leave him alone. But Podrick is kind of like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to leave him alone. Even he's like, this is crazy. But he starts having a talk with I don't want to call him the village idiot, but he is the village idiot. And ultimately he's kind of like, well, look, you need to really kind of like put a display of of like strength or force in, because he said one of the best conversations you had was when you were like slagging him off.
Yeah.
And he's like, that was like one of the smartest things he was talking about. He was like really impressed. And so Podrick's like, I said, okay, that's a good idea. And so he busts into his house, pulls up a chair, and he's just basically slagging him off the whole time, just slagging him. And it sounds like, oh, maybe they kind of become friends again. Yeah. And he's talking about, oh, this has happened. Oh, well, yeah. Well, I'll get our pints in at the pub. We'll go to the pub and everything. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, great. And then he reveals that one of the music playing friends that was invited to the island to play music with him, and university student or whatever I think he was. And he's like, oh, Colm, yeah, sorry, I need to tell you, I told your music buddy that like his dad died on the mainland and he needed to go home. And it's like, the fuck? That's so mean of you to do. But Colm didn't say anything about it. He's just like, huh, okay. And then Podrick just goes off to the pub, gets them their pints, waiting for him. Yeah. Waiting for him. Yeah. Colm, obviously, rather upset now. Yeah. Doesn't show.
But the dog, a key thing there that happens there, which is sometimes skipped over, is the fact that
You're right.
The dog gets hold of the shears.
And drags them outside. Because it's like, this is what's happening.
No, we don't want that happening.
Yeah, he's like, we ain't doing this shit. Yeah. But so naturally, Colm doesn't show. I don't remember if this is what happens first or if it's after he's cut off the first finger, but basically, Colm cuts off a finger. And to make it even, it was such a great scene the first time, because you don't really see him cut it off, but he's cutting it off, basically. Yeah. And it's like the next morning, Podrick's at his house, and he's just chatting with his sister, everything's fine. And all of a sudden, there's a thud at the door. And it's like, what the fuck is that? And he looks out the window, and Colm's walking off to the distance. He's like, surely. And he opens up the door, and he's looking around like, what the fuck? And there's a finger on the floor. And he threw his bloody finger at I was sitting there like, damn, what a scene. I was like, oh, that is some shock factor right there. He's like, not only did I cut it off, I threw it at your fucking door in the fucking morning time. I was sitting like, that is quite a strong message. Oh my god, what a crazy scene. It's obviously Podrick's like freaking out, and he picks it up, and he didn't really know what to do. He's shit, and he brings it inside, and says like, oh, what was that? Was that a bird or something? He goes, no, it was a finger. He just plays it off like, it's a normal thing. It's just a finger. It's like, what the fuck do you mean it's a finger? It's Colm's finger. I'm going to put it in a shoebox, and I'm going to see what we can do about it. And he's still trying to be friends. Yeah. After that huge display of like, leave him the fuck alone. And he's still like, I need to get him back his finger and stuff. Like, this is a bad fucking idea. Yeah. Oh my god, what a crazy scene. That's when I was really hooked, and I was like, fucking hell, this film somehow has taken this one silly little plot and it's made it something so cool and dramatic, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's spreading the drama.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, if he did the one, how many others will he end up doing? Like, how far will this proper feud go? Yeah. Oh my god, and it just gets so much better. It's
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Definitely by far one of my favorite scenes. What a crazy moment that was. I was just hooked. Yeah. Once that happened, I was hooked. Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, there's a ton of subplots going through as well. I mean, you got the story of as you said, the village idiot, the simple lad that's
son of the police
son of the abusive policeman.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in that way you kind of get, there's multiple scenes at the start of the film where you get the kind of the cut of the policeman. He's clearly, obviously, an absolute twat, but abuses his son. But apart from most of it, he's a bully. So he bullies Podrick, for example. Yeah,
just kind of does whatever he wants and gets away with it because he's the law. He's the only law of the island.
Exactly. And they so there's that simple lad. And he's kind of oftentimes Podrick turns to him for advice in the early stages, and it's which is always bad advice because he doesn't know any better, and that's not his fault. I don't even know if he's asking for advice, but he always gets a view.
He always gets some advice. And for some reason, Podrick listens. Yeah. Instead of being like, "Oh right," and maybe he's like, "Oh, I'll think about it.
But what's also apparent is that he's got a kind of something for probably his sister. So and he really fancies her, but he goes about approaching her in all the wrong way, of course.
Yeah.
And just makes a complete fool of himself all the time, and just really annoys her. And then eventually at some point plucks up the courage to just ask her out. Yeah. At a point where she's already herself going through some stuff.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, in that particular scene, we're already kind of thinking about where she's headed. And yeah, so that even that situation, very touching situation, then leads to other things spin out of that. And then you got the old lady, Mrs.
McCormick, who everybody kind of avoids because she's kind of creepy and old and stuff. But his sister kind of looks after her in a way. But even she's like, I don't really want to see her all the time.
And so she's got she's I suppose the actual banshee, if there is any such thing there. Because she's just as to use the definition that the Colm character uses, she's the portent of death. She's always saying, "Oh, there's going to be a death, maybe even two."
Talking like very negative about things, bad shit's going on, and just speaking very negatively all the time, as as old crones and soothsayers and death prophets say and stuff, which was kind of the whole point.
A very stereotypical version of that. And so, for example, in that scene where Bodu's sister and the young simple lad, they're talking to each other. She's
like across the lake,
and looking kind
of. She's always conveniently there when some shit's going on, or when something will happen.
Kind of creepy because you're thinking, oh, is her prediction about to come true?
Like some foreshadowing. Is that why she's here? And another awesome thing, because obviously banshees are kind of like obviously one of the title of the movie. Yeah. So typical like folklore banshees and stuff. They're more like obviously wailing witches. They still portend death. Yeah. Whenever like people see them, but they kind of like scream and stuff. Like they're like out in moors and stuff. People are like, oh, you hear a woman screaming, it's probably a banshee. Like it kind of means like death is going to be around. Yeah. But then in this one, Colm more says like, oh, maybe it's not like a typical banshee. Maybe it's more like a newer kind of banshee where it's they still portend death, but they're a little more subtle about it, kind of thing. And what else is interesting? Obviously, this called the Banshees of Inisherin, which at first you're like, interesting title. Not really sure where it's going with it. You think it's mainly about like the old lady kind of just hinting that people are going to die and shit. And then you find out that Colm is actually writing a song that he's named the Banshees of Inisherin, and you're like, oh, well, that's quite interesting. Yeah. And then that's never really brought up again.
I know.
But I was like, that's an interesting nod. Yeah. But nothing really came of it. Maybe it did. Maybe they played it at the end or something. I wasn't paying too much attention because I think he split it up into like 3 or 4 parts. He was kind of talking about it, and he was like, oh, I've done with the first part. I'm going to write the second, now the third and stuff. I was like, okay, well, that's great. But then I don't think you ever really hear it, which is a shame because I was like, well, that would have been quite cool if there was like a proper song that came as well with this. That would have been a really cool tie-in as well. Yeah. Maybe there's like a bit of singing in the background talking about how, ill omens and friends become enemies, some kind of death, like just kind of hinting at what is going on and what's happened. And I'm like, that would have been a really cool tie-in. But I don't think that happened. It was a real shame.
No, I found it a bit curious. It was interesting, the fact that that was the name of his song, and you're thinking, that's the name of the film, so that's what the film was named after. But at the same time, then nothing really developed with that. Yeah,
which is a slight letdown, but not a big letdown. Because the rest of the film, the whole film is it's beautiful from start to finish.
But it does introduce him. That's when he starts talking about banshees. That's when he starts saying, maybe banshees, modern day banshees, they don't scream, but they're still there. Yeah. They're still the portents of death.
Exactly.
A lot in this island. They're just quiet and dull like everything else. Right, and so
right, yeah.
I think that's maybe that's sort of a reference to what the title's about, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just a great film, and for me I love the film anyway, all the way through. I knew I was going to like it. I did love it. Just the dynamic of Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson, the characters. Just a nod back to In Bruges, a totally different film, but the dynamic between the two main characters were very, very similar. So it's not just the same two actors. The dynamic of the two characters is similar. So in Bruges, you've got a couple of hitmen that hide out in Bruges because they're on the run. But really, there's a subplot there. And again, spoiler alert, if you haven't already seen it, you must have seen In Bruges by now. It's been out for a long time. Is one of them, Brendan Gleeson, has actually got a contract out on the other one. So it was his mate. And the other one, who's his mate, is also quite irritating. and he kind of doesn't, they don't really get along. So they're kind of mates, but they don't really get along. And at the same time, he's got a secret, mission to kill his mate. So
yeah, but obviously he can't tell him, and he's torn up about. Oh, shit,
so
do I kill him? Do I not?
So there's that tension that goes on between them in that film, and between the two characters played by those actors, and you got some of that same tension between these two characters. You got you know that these two people are friends, or one-time friends. You know the actors themselves are friends, great friends, but you know it's played to say that this tension to say that we just can't, the friendship can't be allowed to exist. It's got to you've got to end it. And in both cases, it's a problem for one of the guys who just says, I can't be friends.
Yep.
That's the friendship's going to get in the way. Yeah, it's going to get in the way.
Except compared to in Bruges, where one person just completely was oblivious to that.
Yeah.
In this one, the friend knew,
yeah,
but just refused to believe it or go along with
or
it.
Accept it. Right?
Yeah. So very interesting how they're very similar dynamics, very similar kind of stories in a way, but they've got like a different variable in each one that kind of make it a different story in and of its own right, which is just honestly what a cool.
It is just a whole cool notion, and then so for me that was it was funny and interesting the way it was developed, but you're still always thinking, now are they going to? Is this going to end?
Yeah.
Where are they going to get to? Where is it
exactly.
Keep going around? And somehow, for me, in the back end of the film, something happens. It escalates.
Oh yeah,
the situation escalates, and then to the point that something happens that's really dramatic.
We just have to keep going through, don't we? So it's obviously after he's cut off the one finger, thrown it, all that shit. Podrick's still like even this. I should probably leave him alone. But I still want to kind of give him his finger back, kind of thing, just as a peace offering or whatever. And eventually, I don't remember. I think it's at some point in the pub. He probably goes up against him again. Podrick, just being a fucking idiot, probably listened to the kid again, and for some reason, probably done some drinking, and he's got some balls on him now all of a sudden, and he slags him off in front of everybody because he just doesn't know any fucking better, and he's like, I can't believe this with our friendship and everything. It just doesn't make any sense, I don't know why you're only targeting me. Why do you hate me? Why do you not want to be friends with me? And, even though he's kind of giving him some answers, they're not very good answers, because it's always the same stuff like, well, I just want to do more with my life. You don't really fit into that equation. We just can't really be friends. That's just kind of the way it is. I want to do longer lasting stuff with my life. I want to be able to write music and do things that will live on beyond me. And that's always like his always said motive, which it's still not a very good motive, but I think that's kind of more of the drive as to why it's such a ridiculous plot, and yet it's played so well, and eventually, I don't remember exactly what led up to it, but so after he's cut up the one finger, and now he's about to cut off another finger, instead he just goes whole hog, and he just cuts all of them off. So his whole hand, he's just left with the nub of the hand, got all his fingers, the thumb off, all of it, and of course the next day he's chucking all of them at Podrick's door. Really laying it home that, all this shit. Podrick's not even home at this point. Podrick and his sister are down the road. They're coming up the lane, and Colm is going by them. His bloody hand just kind of bleeding everywhere. They don't say anything. It's kind of like, no, it's like, oh shit, look at his hand. Kind of like, oh. No,
it's not. I think Podrick's on his own at this point. I think his sister's already gone on the mainland at this point.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
That's key to the plot, because I don't
think
his sister doesn't know about what happens next. And she sends a letter to him.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think you're right. You're right. But either way, Podrick coming up the lane, he doesn't even know that this has happened yet. And, obviously he passes by Colm. Colm's got a bleeding hand and everything. Podrick's like, what the fuck? Goes up to his place, and I don't know if it was right then and then when he found Jenny.
Well, what he finds at first is his animal's a little bit disturbed. He sees the mess on the floor, there's blood on the floor, stuff like that.
But the fingers aren't all in, right by the door. He's
exactly.
It's fucking mess. So, like you said, there's a blood trail kind of going around.
So he's kind of going around the house. And the horse, he's looking at, he's wondering why the animal's a bit unsettled, and then he finds
his emotional support miniature donkey Jenny.
Yeah, he's just
lying on the floor.
Yeah.
Not moving, not breathing.
Yeah, dead basically.
Got a little something in her mouth.
Yeah.
She was eating the fingers.
Yeah, choked on the finger.
Yeah. And died.
Yeah.
And so for that, Podrick's like, that's his breaking point.
Yeah.
That's the moment in his head where he's like, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what he wants. This is what he's going to get.
Yeah.
I'm going to go full force on this because he's killed something that should not have been involved.
Yeah.
And he's like,
and here's where you got parallels. Here's where you got parallels with the Civil War and with all the Irish troubles. It's the parallel there is that this stupid battle between two people, which is for, as you've said, not really very good reasons, and one of them might not want to be part of it or whatever, or they may. But the key is that innocents get mowed down. They go,
Exactly.
and that happened in the Irish Troubles a lot. It happens in any kind of war quite a lot. And I think that's a very, very that for me was a very powerful moment.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
And you just go,
it was very telling.
Yeah, you go, shit. That's. And then what he becomes is, you kind of, on the one hand it's sad and dark and depressing,
Yep.
but on the other hand you think, yeah, he now he deserves to just go.
He deserves to pay.
He snapped, right?
Yep.
He snapped. He's just gonna go. He's gone from stopping Mr. Nice Guy, which he was all the way through the film to that point, and he's just gonna completely turn into a different character, which he does.
He does, and he doesn't like half-ass it with like, I'm gonna have revenge. He whole hog, full force. I think he goes up to him in the pub, and he's incredibly upset, but he's very calm. He's very stoic about the whole thing, and he's just very deliberate in his words, and he's just telling him basically like, you've killed my donkey with your fat fucking fingers. He's like, yeah, our friendship is done. You're right on that. It absolutely is done. You've killed Jenny.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like no,
Yeah.
no, don't want that. Don't want any of that. There's no forgiveness. There's only revenge.
Yeah.
Kind of shit. It's like, oh, okay. And he goes, tomorrow, I'm coming to your house. I'm going to burn it down.
And at this point in time, and I want you to be, I'm hoping you're inside it.
Yeah.
At that point in time.
Yeah, exactly. He tells them the time. He says it in front of everybody. I think a police officer, everybody knows.
Yeah.
And he's all like, oh, shit. Because he's always the fun, cheery, lovable guy that everybody knows and stuff. And they see this dark side of him like, oh, shit. And yet again, nobody does anything about it, which is great, because then it leads to the fantastic scene where he does. He rolls up to his house. He's got all these logs, all these, all the burning torches and everything. And he's just piling them up against doors, windows, everything. He sees Colm inside. Doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just carries on, lighting the place up. But important, he makes sure the dog's
out.
He makes sure the dog's out, because Colm has a dog, lovely dog.
Yeah.
And he's like, just because he killed an innocent, we're not doing that, because he's like, the dog has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
So I don't want the dog getting hurt. Yeah. This is all about Colm and his fucking house. So he sets it on fire, and he takes the dog away. And sure enough, the dog spends the night at his place. House is burning down, and that's kind of it. And you're like, oh shit! It's like he really went through with this.
And Colm was inside.
And Colm's inside, and it's like, oh wow, this is like fucking crazy to see. It's just like, this is insane. Oh my god, it was just, crazy stuff.
Yeah. And then finally, he goes and next morning goes down to the beach.
Yeah, with the dog. It's nice little morning jaunt.
Yeah.
And who does he see out on the beach? Colm.
Yeah.
Just standing out.
Yeah, large as life.
Yeah. Totally fine. Not hurt or anything. Just looking like it's another day. And he walks on up to him. Obviously, his dog runs up to him, very happy to see him and everything. And he's like, oh, well, thanks for taking care of my dog. And he's like, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Anytime.
But then Colm says, I guess that's it then now. Are we quits now?
Yeah.
He said, no, we're quits.
If you were in the house.
If you were in the house.
But because you're not. No.
Never. It's not going to.
It's not
over.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah. I think that for me, the whole film was good. It was difficult to know where it was going to go from the start.
Absolutely.
But it was still kept on kind of plodding, not plodding, but it was plugging along, coming up with some interesting ideas. But for me, the turning point was about 2/3 way through the film, and when that all happened, and then shit went down, and I think it was really cool. And again, for me, some of these tensions and some of these fallouts from what was occurring, now that they've reached a point where they've escalated, now they're both at each other's throats. That did make me think of the Troubles. So when they make reference in that beach scene to this, you can still hear a bit of fire in the mainland, and they make reference to the Civil War and the fact that we should always carry on being.
Maybe this is just how it is.
Yeah, we just got so maybe it's a good thing to keep on hammering away, whatever.
Yeah,
and that comment made me think, so maybe this story is that's kind of what it's about a little bit. It's not about that, but that's I think that
it's definitely got ties.
Yeah, there's a bit of metaphor.
Definitely got metaphors.
So yeah, great film. I don't know how it did in the awards. I know it got nominated for quite a lot, but I think the film which I haven't seen, and I think I would like to see now, it got so many Oscars, was the
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be our next episode, because I too haven't seen it, and I really want to watch it.
Yeah, it's quite appealing. It's quite interesting.
Well, yeah, I think that'll probably be the next one then. I think that's a plan.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if it did get any awards in the end. It was nominated.
I'm not sure, but I know, like you said, Everything Everywhere All at Once got quite a lot of awards. But I don't think Banshees of Inisherin. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll check it out. Unless anybody on the listening, any of our 3 listeners out there, as
the 1 or 2 or 3, on the right day,
any information, and you may tell us, tell us what if awards were won, whether Academy Awards, Oscars, or whatever.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on our take of Banshees of Inisherin and what you thought of the film, and what you want us to talk about next. Because I definitely think we'll do Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I do want to see that. So
yeah, me too.
Don't really care what you say. That's what we're going to do next. So yeah, stick around. Wow, that was good fun.
Yeah.
Bye bye.